All right, fantastic news for anyone who does digital marketing or any business owner who has a business that sells things on the internet and does digital marketing. There's been some really big updates to ChatGPT in the last week. To suffice to say, ChatGPT has just gotten a lot cooler. So they've released their new version. They announced it at this developer conference thing for nerds last week on Tuesday or whatever. It doesn't really matter. It's called GPT4 Turbo, which is fantastic because just by the name, you'd know that it's going to be a lot better than anything that's not called Turbo. So that's good. Clear instructions there. Now, there are a few things that they've changed about ChatGPT. There's one in particular that I want to touch on first that's really important. But essentially, ChatGPT is now a tool that you can use to do more complex, more sort of creative, or more structured tasks, if you will. So previous to this, ChatGPT had what they refer to as a context window, but that's, just a fancy tech person's way of saying a memory. And this is not something that a lot of people fully understand. So what I've done for you is put together some slides that I want to really quickly run through to show you exactly what it is that I'm talking about here. So here's what I mean. There is this thing called a context window, and they don't quantify it in terms of words. They quantify it in terms of tokens, but a token is roughly a word. Now, when you talk to ChatGPT, here's generally speaking how things will go. There's your conversation or your text that goes into ChatGPT, and then there's what ChatGPT says to you. So you'll begin a thread by saying something like, hey, here's some information about my marketing. I sell these kinds of products to these sorts of people, and here's my funnel, or here's my content strategy, or what have you. Write me 500 words of stuff or whatever. Write me like a blog post, or write me a 500-word email, or write me 2 variations of an ad, or here's some copy from a landing page that's not converting. What do you think I could do differently? And you're going to use up part of that context window with your writing there. So every single time that there is a conversation with ChatGPT, it's going to use 4,000 tokens. Now, most of the tokens are going to be blank here, but you'll ask ChatGPT some stuff. There's 4,000 tokens, and you'll use a bit of it. Now, ChatGPT will say, cool, here's 500 words of stuff, and that will use up a few more of these tokens for it to do that. Now, you may press on here and say, you know what, I don't like that. Make it cooler. And by you continuing on the conversation, you're using more of these tokens. ChatGPT will then go ahead and say, here's a cooler version. Then you might say something like, all right, write me an email about this webinar that we just schemed out, or what have you. And then ChatGPT will say, sure, here's a 600-word email. And then you might say, I don't love this email, rewrite it. But you've already gone through your 4,000 tokens. So all this stuff that you started your conversation with, saying, here's some information about my marketing, here's a webinar, write me a 500-word sort of summary or structure for this webinar. Once you've gone past a 4,000-word sort of point with your conversation with ChatGPT, those initial tokens, those initial words are not going to go back into the neural network. So ChatGPT will be like, rewrite what? Like, I've forgotten what sort of email or what sort of webinar it is that we're talking about, and it's just going to start guessing. And this is where ChatGPT starts to, what people say, hallucinate. It just starts making things up because it's forgotten your initial instructions. That was the old ChatGPT. ChatGPT Turbo doesn't have 4,000 tokens worth of memory or context window if you want to be a tech nerd. It's got 128,000 tokens, which Sam Altman, the head of OpenAI, says is like a 300-word book. That is a ridiculously enormous memory. So here's how things will go. You'll say to ChatGPT, here's some information about my marketing. I don't know, write me 25 variants of a Black Friday ad about my product. And you'll use this tiny little fraction of that context window. And ChatGPT will say, here are your ads. You're using a tiny bit more of that context window, and you'll go backwards and forwards. And by the time that you've done a huge amount of work, ChatGPT has got a really good understanding of what's actually going on with this thing that you're trying to do, your Black Friday promotion, or your blog that you're trying to write, or your webinar that you're trying to scheme out, any of those things. So the point is this: if you wanted to do a complicated task, let's say if you wanted to write a 2,000-word sales page, or if you wanted to write a 3,000-word blog, or if you wanted to write an 8 email sequence, like an invite sequence to a webinar, a show up sequence to a webinar, and then a go buy sequence after the webinar, you would use up those 4,000 tokens for the old ChatGPT really ridiculously quickly. Now with this 128,000 tokens idea, you can stack tasks on top of each other. You can say, here's my idea for a campaign, write me some bullet points for my landing page. Cool. Now put together a script for the video sales letter for the thank you page. Now write an email telling people to go buy the thing that I talk about in the video on the thank you page. Cool. Write me another email and another one, change that one. And you can just keep going and going and going. And ChatGPT remembers all of this sort of stuff. And it shouldn't start hallucinating, because this is the next update that they've said. They've deliberately worked on ChatGPT's ability to follow instructions, which is fantastic. That's really good news for everyone who is a member in my flagship program, the AI Marketing Hub, because a lot of the prompts that they learn from what I've put together with the content and training inside that program is it's instruction driven, for want of a better term. So if you say to ChatGPT, here's what a really well-written blog post, or here's what a good sales page structure looks like, I want you to review that. I want you to check out this information about my product. I want you to review some sample copy that I've done on other sales pages so you can learn my writing style, my voice. And I want you to review this information about the types of people who are going to be trying to market to with this product. If you do that, ChatGPT is now going to follow your instructions a lot better. Now, that's important because there's this thing called alignment when it comes to artificial intelligence. And alignment is when you get what you ask for and what you want. Now, the example that I use on this channel all the time when I'm talking about alignment is, you could say to me, hey, David, can you go and put this milk in the fridge? And I can say, yes. I can go over to your fridge, open the door, take the lid off your milk, pour it all through the inside of your fridge, like all over your salad and last night's leftover dinner and all in like the meat drawer thing. And then I can walk away and leave your fridge door open. And guess what? You got what you asked for. The milk is in the fridge, but that's not necessarily what you wanted. So this ability for ChatGPT to follow instructions a lot better is really important, because you've probably seen, if you've used it a lot, that it likes to kind of default to the middle ground kind of marketing. So one of the ways that I describe this to people in workshops and inside the hub and inside webinars and whatnot that I teach is ChatGPT, Chatty G, is trained on all different kinds of marketing. So it has seen and learned like super brand-based marketing that's like, hey, lowest prices since 1999, or will beat any other competitor's price, or unique selling proposition. And it's seen like super hardcore direct response marketing, and it's seen influencer brand marketing. And if you're not really clear with the instructions that you give it, it's going to kind of revert to the middle. Now that you can give it instructions and it'll follow them better, it's going to be a little bit willing, or a little bit more willing, to go further out to like the hardcore direct response, or to be kind of a little bit more edgy and creative with the kind of copy or with the kind of marketing materials that you wanted to put together. So clear instructions is very good. Now, I had notes in front of me here a second ago for some other important things that I wanted to talk about. Cool. Those are the two main ones. The context window is now enormous. So start trying to do more complicated stuff and it'll follow instructions a lot better. Now, on top of that, ChatGPT's learning kind of awareness of the world is now relevant, or it's trained up to everything that's been posted on the internet since March of 2023, which is good because previous to this GPT-4 Turbo update, it only knew what had happened in the world up to September 2021, which is a while ago. So if you have a product that's in kind of a timely market, like let's say if you're doing anything to do with finance or crypto, or if you're, I don't know what kind of products you would sell, but if you're in like the political space, or if you're selling things that, are affected by the weather and the weather's changed significantly, like, I don't know, if you sell anything that's kind of affected by seasonal stuff or news and current events, ChatGPT is now more aware of those things, which is fantastic. And the final update that has been done to ChatGPT, and this is going to be really important to digital marketers and business owners, but not just yet, I think, is that they're allowing people to create their own GPTs. So you could have like a Instagram thread GPT, or thread GPT is probably what you'd call it. And you could train ChatGPT and create this sort of like little plugin, which would be kind of like an app in the Apple or Android app store, and people could buy that, they could use it, and then OpenAI will give you a cut of the profits that they make. Now that's, I can't see that exploding like in the next week, but I think this whole idea of ChatGPT sort of becoming like the Apple of the artificial intelligence world, which is something I've been saying for quite a while, I think this is going to really help. The ability for people to create tools that we can use and sort of create something of a plugin store or an app store is going to be a lot more helpful. So ChatGPT, the GPT-4 Turbo, the whole thing just got a lot cooler. So try this out. I want you to go and mess around with trying to use the robot for a more complicated task, such as writing an entire email sequence in one prompt, or writing a really long piece of copy like a sales page or a blog in sort of one thread, and see what happens. They're literally asking people like, hey, go and try this out, go and really put it to the test, and let's see what sort of magic we can do with ChatGPT. So David White from Learn Marketing AI here. Thank you so much for watching this video. See you in the next one.